So I was like, oh, I'm having chills thinking about it, but I was like, thank you guys so much. This is literally the most perfect. Welcome back to my channel and thank you for clicking on this video. In today's video, I'm going to be giving y'all all the tea on how I manifested my brand Ebb & Flow. If you're new here, my name is Ebony and I own a online women's clothing boutique called Ebb & Flow, and I launched it in the height of the pandemic on July 31st, 2020, and it resulted in a 4-figure launch for my brand. And that's with no paid ads, no paid coaching, no influencers, just faith and vibes. That's it. If you're someone who has big dreams, has big goals, and does not know how to get to them, spoiler alert, you do not need to figure it out. It is not your job to do that. I'm gonna be sharing exactly how my brand manifested. So my background, no one in my family has ever launched a e-commerce clothing brand or let alone a clothing brand. But I always tell people I came out the womb wanting to be an entrepreneur. At a very young age, I decided that I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to have freedom in my finances and in my life. And I wanted to be able to support my loved ones, not just financially, but also just by being present. At 7 years old, I did not know what kind of brand I wanted, but I always had an interest in design and fashion and like creative ventures. But it was like the 90s, like what am I supposed to, you know, like what do you know? So flash forward to getting ready to go into college and thinking about what I want to do with my life. I thought about all kinds of things. I thought about going into the medical field and having my own practice. I thought about going into interior design and fashion design. Like there were so many thoughts. It all tied around having my own business and having that freedom that I was always wanting. Flash forward to college, towards me getting ready to graduate, I decided that I definitely want to work in the fashion industry, and I didn't really still know what exactly, but I knew I still wanted my own business. So I had interned at like bridal boutiques. I thought I wanted to go into event planning and all that, but finally it was like, no, I want to have a boutique of some sort. So that was probably what, 2014 that I decided that. I graduated, started working at Old Navy, and I realized then like, okay, I really do enjoy working in fashion, and just was praying about it, you know, like I know at some point an idea will be more solid of as far as what kind of business I want to start. Even back in 2014, y'all, there was not a lot of information out there for entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs. So it was just a lot of like seeing and thinking of what I want. Finally, the book Girl Boss came out and I like begged for it, y'all. I had no money and I was like, I want this for Christmas. So I got it as a Christmas gift, read the whole book. It's still actually sitting on my, in my living room. So I see it every day, but that book really spearheaded the idea that I want to have a fashion brand. Like Sophia was so inspiring with how she started her brand, and I knew I wanted the same for myself. So like I said, I was working at Old Navy. If you can imagine, I was not making like 6 figures. I was living at my dad's house. I had to get out of there and get into my own space, and it was just a lot of different things happening. So I had an idea come to me to start a t-shirt brand, which even when I started that brand, Peach and Venom, I knew that was kind of like a springboard for me to practice. Like I wanted this to be a way for me to understand more about fashion, e-commerce, and shipping orders and marketing and all that. At that time, there wasn't like a bunch of people on YouTube talking about how they started their brands. Mostly at that time, it was like guys saying, this is how you can have $1 million in one day if you drop ship. Stuff that was not relevant to me. It was just me figuring it out and trying to see what's what and praying about it. That was it. I started my brand, and at that time I was not very skilled in like Illustrator or Photoshop, but your girl had some skills. So I was able to do some designs on my own. At that time, my friend had a roommate who was actually a graphic designer. So she and I worked together on a few things. I would think of an idea or give her like a concept and she would bring it to life like beautifully. So I was able to do that for a while, and I sold like t-shirts, and then I think my last product was a like not so ugly Christmas sweaters that I actually did by myself, and I still have them. But it just wasn't for me. Like it still didn't feel like me. And One thing about me, y'all, I will not settle. I'll make adjustments, I'll be flexible, but at the end of the day, I will keep going until I get what I want. So I knew I wanted to have a clothing boutique. I wanted to sell, I was calling them real clothes, dresses and skirts and pants, but I still didn't really have like concrete ideas. I still didn't have like the knowledge that I would need. And so I wasn't able to put the time into my original brand, Peach and Venom, because of all the other priorities in my life, like moving and figuring out how I'm gonna be making enough money to support myself and things like that. So it just naturally fell off. And now looking back, I'm like, that was a necessary thing to experience to confirm that I want to work in fashion. I want to have my own fashion brand. Basically, I had to have that clarity and ask for what I wanted. So if you take anything from this portion of my video, ask. Get clarity on what you want and ask for it. So I wanted a fashion boutique. So flash forward to 2018, I'm still planning my brand. I was getting closer to saying, you know what, I'm not gonna know everything, so let's just go, let's just do it. So I was watching so much YouTube, y'all. Like Jance, I talk about Jance all the time. I tell her free YouTube videos helped me have a 4-figure launch. She helped me have a 4-figure launch with free advice. Her and Boss Mama Jackie, those are the 2 channels I was watching any chance I got all the time to just soak up as much as I could, while also planning for my brand, thinking of what kind of clothing do I want it to be. I wanted Ebb and Flow to be a brand that sold like party clothes. Like I wanted it to be like an Instagram boutique. So trendy party clothes, that kind of thing. And so I found brands on Instagram that kind of resonate with me, and that's how I came across Nicole Linnell, which she still inspires me to this day. There's this brand in Miami called J'adore Fancy. They were like a huge inspiration for me. They sold a lot of things at that time that I thought I would want to sell. And there's another brand here in Orlando called Dollhouse Mafia that I was like watching and just kind of seeing how they operated and how they did what they did, thinking then that I wanted to be something similar. So the fall of 2018, there's this event in Florida. It's called the Florida Classic, and it is a big deal. It's a football game between 2 HBCUs, FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, and the game takes place here in Orlando. And it's like the city be popping as people here, the traveling alumni, and some people, like I didn't go to either school, but I still was like out here, and people be dressing. They be dressing. So I went to the event. I had a lot of family and friends come in town. We went out and I noticed like, oh my gosh, these are the women I want to sell to. They are dressing, they're having fun, they're vibrant, they're young, they're living life. And that's what I wanted. I wanted my customer to be like a young woman who gets dressed and goes out and has fun. That's what I wanted Ebb and Flow to be. I ended up going to the mall, needed an outfit for a night out that weekend, and I found these glittery shorts. I always say Ebb and Flow started with some glittery shorts. I saw them and I'm like, history has shown that these kind of things do not fit my booty and my thighs. So I was preparing for heartbreak pretty much. Like if you've experienced dressing room trauma, you know that is very discouraging. So I tried on the shorts. They were from Windsor. Love them. They fit perfectly, y'all. I was so excited and I could not wait to wear them. And so many things had gone wrong that night that led up to us going out that I was like, I'm still going out because I have these shorts and I want to wear them. So I went out, I had the best freaking time. I felt so confident, I've had so much fun. And that's when I decided then, I'm like, I want other people to feel this way. I want my customers to shop with me, put on the outfit, feel confident, and have fun. That's it. And I didn't have the name at that time, but I knew that was the concept. I want to provide items that are comfortable to wear and stylish, obviously, and my customers feel good wearing them, and in turn they're gonna have a great time wherever they're doing, whatever they're doing. At that point, I was very, very, very into my spirituality. Like I had gone through a spiritual journey, gotten closer to God, and was praying more than I ever had in my life. So I was like, okay, God is not gonna let me not continue on with this brand just because there's no name. He's gonna provide a name for me. And naming my brands has always been a big thing for me. I knew my perfect dream brand is gonna incorporate me in some way. I didn't want it to be like all about me, but I wanted it to have a nod to me. So I wanted to somehow incorporate my name, and I wanted it to somehow incorporate where I'm from. So I'm from Panama City, Florida, or I'm actually from Lynn Haven, Florida, but it's a suburb in Panama City. It's a beach town. I grew up going to the beach, so like the ocean, seafood, the beach is a huge part of me and always has been. So I wanted my brand to incorporate that, but I didn't want it to be like, oh, like waving tides, like super boho and all that. Like that just wasn't my vibe. Y'all, I've been praying for that for years. I was like, this is what I want. So I kept planning, I kept pulling my little vision boards together. And at that time, I was going through so many changes in my life, y'all. Like my life was just really evolving, and I felt at that time I was becoming more of who I was always meant to be. And a lot of the people around me were going through similar things. So we were having conversations, I'm listening to podcasts, the term ebb and flow kept coming up. Ebb and flow, ebb and flow, ebb and flow. And I'm like, okay, you're like the fourth person to say this to me. What the freak does this even mean? I had never heard that term in my life. I go and look it up, and I was shook to see ebb and flow is a term that refers to like the ocean. And so I'll probably put the definition here, but I can read it to y'all real quick. Hold on. Ebb and flow are two phases of the tide or any similar movement of water. The ebb is the outgoing phase when the tide drains away from the shore, and the flow is the incoming phase when water rises again. So I was like, what the freak? It's so many levels to that name. Like it refers to my beach town, my name. People call me Eb, and I immediately took it as like a message of resilience and determination. Like the tide is gonna go away, but it's always gonna come back. So I was like, oh, I'm having chills thinking about it, but I was like, thank you guys so much. This is literally the most perfect name. I would have never thought of that ever. So I had the name, I had the concept, I had everything but the money. I still kept the faith that I would be provided for. I was not gonna get this far without being able to bring the idea to fruition. The end of that year, I made a vision board and I put a screenshot of J'adore Fancy's website. They were selling obviously New Year's clothes around that time. So I took a screenshot of what I imagined Ebb and Flow selling and put Ebb and Flow at the top. So it was on my vision board. I was looking at it every day. I had decided at that point that I would be launching the following year in 2020. I had it on my board and I said by this time next year, I will have a boutique called Ebb and Flow. Obviously we go into 2020, everything gets shut down by the pandemic. And then a few days before my birthday, I find out that my job is trying to cut expenses. So my salary was gonna be temporarily reduced. And that was like scary to hear for someone in my living situation, but I still was like, God is still gonna let me start this business. Even more so now that at that time, everyone was starting businesses. Obviously with all that, it can be very easy to believe that this is gonna go on the back burner, you're not gonna be able to do this. But at that time, I was choosing to feed myself with things that are gonna affirm what I was already feeling. Listening to prayers, continuing to meditate, continuing to look at my vision board, continuing to believe. So I had my ask, I needed to continue believing that it was gonna still be provided to me. Even though things look scary right now and they're really crazy in the world, I'm still gonna be able to do what God has put in my spirit. Steve Harvey was actually the one that introduced me to Habakkuk 2:2. Write down the vision, make it plain. And I was reading that every single day. I was listening to him speak about manifestation. He speaks heavily, if you do not know, Steve Harvey speaks heavily about the power of having faith in God, manifesting and all that. So if you don't know, look him up on YouTube. I have so much respect for him because of that. And I was just feeding myself things that a lot of times were hard for me to believe, but I chose to have that belief because it's easy for me to believe that I am gonna be broke. I ain't gonna have a pot to piss in. I'm gonna lose all my money, which is why I didn't tell nobody that I was starting this boutique. They knew from years before that I wanted to start a boutique, but I never said, hey, I'm starting this brand called Ebb and Flow and I'm starting it in the fall of 2020. Never. I kept it to myself from start to finish. And most people didn't know I started my brand until I started promoting it on social media. None of us had been through a pandemic, so I wasn't like, oh, this means I'm gonna potentially have a better chance of getting like money to start my business. Like, that never crossed my mind. I was in so many different business related Facebook groups and people were posting grants. I was seeing those posts, but I was like holding myself back. I'm like, my business is this and that, pretty much giving myself every reason why it won't work out. But finally, someone posted the SBA disaster grant, which I don't know if they're still doing that to this day, y'all, but I will put the link below if you want to apply. I was like, you know what, at the end of the day, it's not up to me. It's up to me to decide to put in an application, but it's not, I don't make the final decision. So whatever happens, happens. And I literally was saying that as I submitted the form. And I don't know how long after, but soon after that, I just had this feeling, go check your business bank account. And I had $1,000 in there. $1,000, a grant I don't have to pay back. And I was like, boy, I knew that was God, because there were so many things saying, no, you are not gonna get this. You will not qualify for this. With me not having my total income, and then also all that was happening in the world, the craziness, I started using the skills I had. So I started building Shopify sites because I had been building my website, so I knew how to do that. I started doing eBay drop shipping. I started doing whatever I could to support myself and have like more income coming in. And then that money came in and it was like, boom, shakalaka, like I'm good. Like we gonna be okay. I knew then, I was like, oh, it's game time, baby. So I really like put the pedal to the mother freaking metal. I started doing everything I needed to do to get this brand off the ground by the fall of 2020. I kept saying that fall of 2020, my brand is gonna be up. And I was talking to vendors and just doing a lot of things. I still had not hired a coach. I still was watching Jance and Jackie on YouTube and learning from them and just praying about it, praying for the next step, because that's all I could do. We're all just home with, what else do we do? What else do you do during that time? So I was really heavily focusing on YouTube and my business. That's it. So I decided I'm gonna launch by August. I started wearing this t-shirt, which I'm gonna always say, the Thou Shall Not Try Me t-shirt was the start of Ebb and Flow. I had these t-shirts that I thought were really cute and funny. I really didn't know what kind of clothing, because obviously at that time it's the pandemic, everything shut down. Ebb and Flow can't sell party clothes. No one's at a party. So I had to pivot, I had to shift, but I still kept the faith that this brand was gonna go pop off. I started wearing the t-shirt and like pictures on Instagram, and people started asking me like, yo, where'd you get that shirt? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God. And people kept asking so much and people wanted to buy it. They were ready to buy it. And I'm like, oh, I need to launch early. Like this cannot. And I didn't know what I was doing. Like really think fast. I'm like, I can either say, no, I ain't ready, or just let what's happening naturally happen. Because I had been promoting, I had been posting on Instagram, posting on Facebook at that point, and saying this is what day we're launching. We're launching, Ebb and Flow launches on, I think I said August 31st. And that's it. But people were like, I want to buy that shirt today. So I'm like, oh my God. So I decided to do pre-orders. I'm like, okay, we'll do pre-orders. I have no inventory. I have the samples, that's it, but I don't have the inventory. So it was all just very new and very scary, but I couldn't say, I could not be like, let me not get this money. Like, what the freak? I made sure everyone was well aware. If you have not watched my pre-order video, I go into all that process, but I made sure everyone was well aware. I don't have this in stock today, but if you buy it now, it ships as soon as it's here. From there, I mean, I had a 4-figure launch and from pre-orders of a graphic tee. And it's just been a journey from there. So yes, y'all, that is how my business manifested. That is the whole story. And if you take anything from this video, just take it as simple as I can make it. Ask, believe, receive. Obviously that I didn't come up with that quote, but that is how I live my life. I ask for something, I believe I'm gonna receive it if it's meant to be, and if it ain't meant to be, I'm gonna receive something better, and I receive it. Conditioning your mind to believe that is a whole different thing that I had to work on, but believe it. Believe it, believe it. Ask for it, get the clarity, see it, feel it. I saw my business. I felt how I'd feel if once the business was here. I saw how my life would be for myself and my family once I have this business, this brand. At a very young age, I said, I'm gonna be paid for being who I am. I'm gonna be paid for myself, because I never have felt like a normal person. I've always felt different. I've always been told I'm different. So I knew I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna make a living different. I was affirming those things and just saying what I believed, and God was providing, and that's how things have been happening for me. That's how I've continued on with YouTube, even when things in my life have gotten really dark, even when the world has gotten dark. And that's it. But ask, believe, receive. Ask, believe, receive. Like I said in the beginning of this video, it is not your job to figure it out. It's your job to ask for it, believe it, and receive it. I have not had to figure out anything. When I say that, I mean, yes, I had to think of ideas, but it wasn't like I'm sitting there fretting over it and having to do all kinds of things to get an idea. It just comes. Like, the idea just comes. I would have never, ever said, hey, I want the world to go into a pandemic. I would have never, ever, ever, ever said that. And unfortunately, that's the way it happened, but that's the way it happened. With the pandemic, there was more funding for small businesses, and with that, I was able to receive funding that I probably wouldn't have received otherwise. Like, I don't want to have to figure it out. Like, I'm happy that I can have faith in something bigger than me to figure it out for me, because who wants to sit there stressing about stuff? It's easy to not. It's easy to not believe. It's easy to tell people something and be really excited about it and then just give up because they discouraged you. That's easy. It's difficult to believe that something you've never done before, your circumstances and your reality are telling you that this is not gonna happen. It's difficult to believe, even with all that, it's still gonna happen. So I recommend taking the difficult route, because obviously it paid off for me and paid off for so many other people. So it'll pay off for you too. So ask, believe, receive. Make your vision board, journal, write it down, make it plain. Whatever you have to do to believe it, and continue feeding yourself with positivity. That's it. Don't be around someone that's gonna complain all day long or complain about how their life is and not be doing anything to make it different. Be around things that are gonna uplift you, even if it's just you for a while. And that's it, y'all. That is my story, and I hope it inspires you. This is a lot of my why, is inspiring other people to believe that even your biggest dreams are possible and they can come true as long as you believe it and keep pushing towards it. Actually, my niece is in elementary school, and she's told her mom that she's starting a business because of me. So things like that is what really keeps pushing me forward and lets me know that I'm doing the right thing right now. So yeah, and that's my why. So yes, y'all, I hope this video inspires you to ask for what you want, believe it, and receive it. I hope you like this video. If you do, please help me out by giving this video a big thumbs up, hitting that like button. Leave me a comment with, I don't know, if this video inspires you, and share with a friend that needs some motivation to keep pushing towards their dreams, pushing towards their goals, and dreaming big, humongous dreams. And hit that subscribe button for more business and lifestyle related content. I love talking about manifestation. I love talking about business. I love giving y'all business tips and advice as I'm going on my business journey. So I definitely want to put that out in the universe and hope it helps. So if you like this, I already said that. So anyways, y'all, thank y'all so much for watching. Wishing you much success with anything you set out to do, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye. If you're new here, oh my God, why do I get so nervous for these?